Yo, have you had your dose of pep today? No? Don't worry, I got you. Let's go. Pep Squad, stand up. What's going on? How y'all doing? Welcome to episode 20. That's 20 of the Pep Talk podcast. My name is Coach Jay. I'm a life coach in the DFW area of Texas. And the mission of this podcast is to cheer you on and to coach you up. And I'm so excited that we have been officially doing it for 20 episodes, week after week since January. We have been coming to you every Monday with a fresh dose of pep to get your week and your day started off right. Yeah, this is just so exciting for me. And it's especially exciting because this episode is coming after Mother's Day. I know it's a day late, but happy Mother's Day to every mother out there. Whether you have children of your own or whether you are a mother figure to someone, happy Mother's Day. I hope that you feel celebrated. We're going to still celebrate you today because we're still talking about mothers on this episode. I have a very special guest, the very first guest of the podcast, y'all, and I'm so excited about this. It's none other than my wife, almost Dr. LaTricia Belt, future doctor of chiropractic care. She's going to be my special guest for this episode, and we're going to have a discussion around all things motherhood, but we're also going to talk about her journey from teaching into chiropractic care and how motherhood has played a major role in that. So when we come back, I want to do just a little bit of reflection on how motherhood has affected my life. I'm going to talk about my moms. Yes, you heard me right. I'm going to talk about my moms, and then we're going to jump right into the interview with my beautiful wife, almost Dr. LaTricia Belt. This is episode 20 of the Pep Talk podcast. We'll be right back, but before we get there, y'all, you know what I'm going to say. Jam to the music, people. Jam to the music. Be right back. We're back, episode 20 of the Pep Talk podcast, a special episode. We're dedicating this one to all of the mothers, whether you have children of your own, whether you are a mother figure to those around you. Yo, we celebrate you. We celebrate you. Moms, if you're out there and you have rainbow babies, we love you. We are praying for you, and we are also celebrating you as well. And I understand that Mother's Day, days like this, are not always happy days. Because of memories and other circumstances. But please just know that you're not alone out there. As a matter of fact, I recently lost one of my moms on Thursday of this week. And this is not something that I talk about a lot, but I felt like having this transparency on the podcast. I talk about, a lot about accountability. And maximizing our lives. And me telling this story is a way of me pulling strength and freedom for my own life. So, if you all will bear with me for just a little bit, I want to open up kind of the books of my life and tell you a little bit about me and where I've come from. Now, I'm like a lot of people out there. I have two moms. I have the mom who birthed me, and I have the mom who raised me. But even in that, as I look back over my life, the mom who birthed me still played a role in who I've become. And here's why. Because when the mom who birthed me had me, her parents adopted me and raised me as their own. And so for a good part of my life, the woman that I believed was my sister. She was actually my mother, and I don't remember what age I was officially told about that. But it's something that I thought a lot about as she passed away just this past Thursday. And it hasn't been an easy time for our family, not at all. And if I'm honest with you all, I dealt with, and I've had to work through a lot of guilt over the past few days because I never called her mom. I always looked at her as sister. But as I knew that she was sick, I had this overwhelming urge to at least once in her life to address her as mom. But I never got that opportunity as I got the word Thursday morning that she'd passed away. And that was accompanied, again, like I said, with a lot of guilt and a lot of processing. And, even as I think about it now, I'm filled with just an unearthly amount of peace. The hole is still there. The gap is there. And I know that is not going to magically disappear, but I have a peace that I knew her. I have a peace that I knew her, and I still got to experience life with her. The mom who raised me, LaTricia Belt, an amazing woman, a teacher. As a matter of fact, y'all, she taught me. She taught me. I believe it was my 5th grade year in elementary school, and she told me once that the doctor said when I was born that I was going to be a special child, and that's something that has always stuck with me throughout my life. My mom, LaTricia Belt, has always been someone that I could count on. No matter what was going on in my life, if I needed help, she was always one of the first people to step up, no matter whether, it was something self-inflicted or something in life. And she's always pushed me, and she's always believed in me. She's always instilled that belief. I remember waking up on Sunday mornings to oatmeal and the Bible on the table. Every Sunday morning, I'd have to read from the book of Proverbs. And I can think of so many things that she's implanted in my life. A gentle spirit, a patient heart. I put her through a lot of things. I have not been a perfect son by no means, but LaTricia Belt has always been patient with me. And she's always done her best to see and to speak to the best in me. Now, the mom who birthed me, Arve Fuller, that was her name. I think about her life, and the last few years of her life, she lived in Memphis, and she worked in an apartment complex where I think was some of the greatest service of her life. Yes, she played piano for our church, for our children's choir. She taught me songs like Father Abraham and things like that. But I think working in these as an office manager, office administrator for these apartment complexes that she did, I think that she was able to counsel people. She was able to be there for people. She was able to challenge people, to hold them accountable. And I think that her gifts, the gifts that God gave her, were on full display. And yes, they were on display as she served our church back when she did. But I think that they were even on a fuller amount of display when I look at the people that she worked with on a daily basis, no matter how much they got on her nerves. I think these people, these tenants, knew that she loved them, and she would do whatever she could to make their living arrangements as best as they could be, but also to be a listening ear and to let them know that they had someone that they could come to. And I appreciate that about her. And yeah, we're going to miss her. I have a brother and a sister from her. And I was talking with my sister the other day, and I just kind of told her, one of the best ways that I think that we can honor her memory is for me to be a better big brother and for us to truly be siblings. And that's something that I want to work toward. And Arve, even though you're not here with us now, I love you, Mom. And I'm going to do my best to keep living a life that makes you proud. And us as siblings are going to do our best to live the kind of life that honors you and honors the life that you wanted for us. So thank you all for listening to that. I've never talked about this in an open forum at all, but again, I believe that transparency and vulnerability is key. And as a life coach, I can't ask you all to do something that I'm not willing to practice and I'm not willing to model. And no, this is not for clicks. This is not for listens. But this is because you are a part of my family, my pep squad, this community. And I really just want to open my life up and to share who I am behind the microphone in real life. And so in this case, that just includes sharing with you just loss that I've suffered, loss that my family has suffered just this week leading into Mother's Day weekend. So when we get back, I'm really excited to be presenting the very first interview in Pep Talk podcast history. I will be sitting down with my wife, LaTricia Belt, and we will be talking about her life as a mother, her life as a chiropractic student, and just this wild journey that she's been on over the past 4 years. So, I know Mother's Day was yesterday, but go ahead and text your mom, tell them that you love her, tell her how much you appreciate her. And then we'll be right back with this interview in episode 20 of the Pep Talk podcast. I'm your host, Coach Jay. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, episode 20 of the Pep Talk podcast. And y'all, I'm so excited that I get to interview my wife, the first interview in the history of the Pep Talk podcast. And it's going to be my wife, the future doctor of chiropractic care, LaTricia Belt. Hey, wifey, how you doing?
Doing great.
I'm so glad to have you on. Thank you for doing your part to help me make a great episode for episode 20. I've talked about you quite a bit on the podcast, of course. And since we're recording this on Sunday, I first want to say Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
You have been a mother for 18 years now because we have a daughter who is preparing to graduate and go off to college. Do you remember what kind of advice your mom gave you as you were getting ready to go off to college for the first time?
Be watchful and basically everything that glitters and shine is not good for you.
Everything that glitters and shines is not good for you. I think that's pretty good advice. So since we're talking about your mother, tell us about your mom. Like, I know your mom, but tell us about your mom.
My mom is a powerhouse. She does everything. She's an awesome mom. She works hard. She's a great cook. I believe she should have been a minister in the gospel, yet she loves to read and study the Bible. She loves to preach to people, whoever would listen. She's a mother to a lot of people other than her 6 children and her 19 grandchildren and her 1 great-grand. So she is she's a pillar in our community. She's very outspoken. She's very direct. And I said she loves God and she loves her family, and just been an amazing example for me as a woman.
So what have you taken from all of those things? What have you taken from your mom that you've tried to incorporate into you being a mother for our 5 kids?
Definitely being present for our children, making sure that they have everything that they need that's in my wheelhouse. Over the years, my mom, she used to sew. She doesn't sew as much as she used to. So as a little girl growing up, I had a different dress every Sunday, which meant when I got married, I had that same kind of mindset. And my sweet husband's like, sweetie, we can't afford to live that lifestyle just coming off as newlyweds. So that was something I did not sit there to learn how to sew, But in this 18 years of being a mom, I have had my own navigations of sewing, which everybody kind of giggles about. I've been creative with YouTube to be able to make different things that my kids may need. I feel like the one thing that I think I've taken from my mom is just being direct and just straightforward with my thoughts. I also think I may filter a little bit better than my mom. She just shoots straight from the heart. But I think that that makes me more genuine, and people are more trusting of me, and my children, I believe, are more trusting of what comes out of my mouth, because I know mom is going to tell me what's right or wrong, and they know that I'm saying it in love, whether they like it or not.
Okay, so in the same fashion, along the same avenue, what are some things that you think you do differently as a mom than what your mother modeled for you as you were growing up?
I think I do listen more. I think because I've experienced some things, and just also being a former educator with other high school students, just being around that age group and seeing some of the things that they've encountered, I feel like that makes me a little bit more insightful. So I feel like they can come to me with things that I can understand, and I can relate to them, and whatever circumstances that they're in, I can feel like I can relate to that with them, and walk them through, share some of my stories with them. And especially with the younger ones, when they're aggravating their older siblings, and it looks like a repeat of what I used to do to my siblings, I'm like, hey, I know that role, that game. So I peep it out really quickly. So I recognize, even from the oldest to the youngest, those simple little things, like, again, from aggravating siblings to, just trying to navigate what it's like to be a teenager, because that's awkward. And I felt like even as a teenager, I didn't really become into myself until I went off to college, because it's like, this is truly me. And, just standing out in the sun, this is me independently from my 4 sisters and a brother and my parents that everyone knew in the community. It was just me. So that was like that awesome growing experience.
Okay. So being able to come into yourself, you think has enabled you to be able to help our children find ways to come into themselves. And like, we have a graduate, she'll be graduating in a couple of weeks. How you feel about that?
Excited. I'm not necessarily sad. It's just it's different territory, and I'm just excited because she's an awesome young lady. She loves the Lord.
She's pretty cool,
and she loves her family. And I hope all of those things doesn't put pressure on her, but my hope is that she takes the tools that we've placed with her, and that she runs with them and just flourish, because that's what I believe in my heart she's going to do.
So she's had a really amazing mentor through all of this, because over the last 4 years, she's been able to watch you living out a dream in your life. And I'm a big proponent of pushing people to pursue their dreams. And I'm also a big proponent of the mindset that it takes for someone to do something like that. Because, I mean, you were a teacher for 10 years, and now you're in chiropractic school, finishing up, you're in your last trimester.
That's awesome.
That is amazing. Yeah. So talk to the Pep Squad, talk to the people out there, because I know that there are members of this community who, there are people out there who want to live their dreams, but they feel like they're too old, or they're too young, or, maybe they don't think that they can actually start over and jump into something completely new. Tell us about your story and what your mindset has had to be at different junctures to get you from where you were a teacher looking to get out to now you are a chiropractic student in her last trimester of what's been, at times a really, could have been heartbreaking or spirit crushing time in your life. Like, what's it taken for you to get through this? And what are some specific things of your story that you think you can bring out that might motivate someone who's thinking about making a change?
Well, I'm glad you said that because you mentioned age. And so God has blessed me to be 44 years back in April 27th. So
you don't look it, baby. You don't look it.
Thank you. But anyway, God really awakened a dream of mine that I've had from when I was in high school. I was projecting myself to be a doctor. I was taking all the classes. Even in college, I was doing internships. I knew that's what I was going to do. And then, you know, how God always put these detours in your pathway, and some detours are not bad detours. It's those detours that's preparing you and maturing you for what's ahead. And so I found myself into the teaching world. I love teaching. When I left teaching, it wasn't because I hated it. I wasn't tired of it. I just, it was like this urgency that I had to do something else. So God placed this dream back in my heart when I was 38 years old. And at first I kind of like toyed with it, saying, okay, I have a full-time job. Now I have 5 kids. We were working full-time in ministry as well. We were very connected in our community. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh, now I want you to go do this. It's like, wait a minute, what? And so the more and more I listened, the more and more that I researched, and the more and more that I realized, yeah, maybe I can do this, it made it very exciting for me. So then I began to reach out to the different colleges, started setting up visits. And of course, God placed me here in Dallas area where Parker has been educating me since 2020. Through all of the ups and downs of the pandemic up until now, I've learned so much in how to use your resources. My family, even through the beginning stages, even before we moved, was very supportive because things look differently. In school, you would think like normal, like when you're in grad school, there's some flexibility with time. But when you're in this level of school, sometimes time is not on your side. And it was many, many days that my kids might have only seen me for dinner, and I was back in a room studying, or I was at a study group practicing and different things like that. So they didn't hardly see me. So in this process, I had to learn time management, and I had to purpose family time with study time. And sometimes I had to say no to some things and events that I thought was going to be helpful for me. But at the end of the day, I chose family, and I'm still thriving, and I'm still successful. So keeping your priorities straight, I feel like helps you get to those things and your dreams. But I think the biggest characteristic about me is when I want something and when I see something, I put my blinders on and I run and I go after it.
I think that's important. You've had that clarity of purpose. You know what you wanted to accomplish, and you went after it with a single-minded clarity because you knew that if you didn't, you weren't going to be here at this point. And I mean, walking beside you as your husband throughout all of this process, there have been moments, there have been classes that could have broken you had you not had that clarity of, no, this is not going to break me. I'm stronger than this. The purpose within me, the dream within me is stronger than this. And I'm not going to let this be my downfall. And I've watched you, have a bad test or have a bad practical, yet you come back after that with a renewed focus and a renewed purpose, and you pull out the grade that you need, even higher than the grade that you need to pass that course. Where does that resolve within you, that resilience within you, where does that come from to help you bounce back from what some might perceive as a failure?
Well, the thing about failing is if you fail and you don't learn anything from it, then you're just a failure. But if you fail and you learn from those mistakes, that makes you successful and you press forward. I would take those as learning curves because if at one point, like I was stressing out, I wanted whatever top grade. So what I would do is I would start to the way that I would kind of lower my stress levels. I would say, okay, I started looking at it as a scoreboard. I had to get points on the board. Once I got the points on the board, I would go back and look at my rubrics. What were some of the areas of my weaknesses? I would go back and work on those weaknesses and improve for the next go round. And that's kind of how I kind of took that mindset. Points on the board, and it was only up from there. I also surrounded myself with people who had similar mindsets, and we worked together. We were in the trenches together. And so for those people that have been by my side, that includes my family who have been my study buddies too through all of this, that's how I say I've gotten through this program so far successfully. Now I'm in my internship phase, so now I'm actually in an office operating and doing the things that I will be doing in a few months on my own. So that's really exciting to have come from in the books, struggling with tutors and all, to this point of like, wow, all of these pieces are coming together and the excitement there is still surreal for me.
All right, so I hope you all caught how she said that for her, the resilience, the bouncing back from the failure was understanding that if she didn't learn anything, then she was a failure. But if she was able to take what didn't go well the first time and attack those things, attack those areas of weakness, that's a growth mindset, right? We don't let ourselves stay in the dumps. We don't sit back. We don't wallow in what didn't go right. We take what didn't go right and we make it a strength for the next time around. That's how we're going to get better. That's how we're going to achieve our goals. And if you're sitting there listening and you have had a recent setback, break that setback down. Find out the areas that didn't go right, that didn't go well. That's reflection. We've talked about that too. Reflect, find the areas that you were weak in, and resolve to make those areas strengths. All right. So, wife of mine, almost 20 years. 20 years of marriage is coming up. If you were to leave the Pep Squad with one motivating thought based on your story and your journey so far, what would be that one thing that you want to leave them with that you think would really help them and propel them into this next season of winning in their life? What's that one motivating thought that you could leave them with?
The first thing that came to my mind was never leave any stones unturned. Go after it, no matter what your age is, no matter what your financial situation is, go after it, because if God has planted something inside of you, He doesn't mean for it to stay there. He means for you to water it, give it sunlight, nurture it so it can grow.
Wait a minute. You're trying to take my podcast. Cause, okay, that's good. Can you just say that? Run that back. Rewind that. And just give it to him again, just in case somebody in the back missed it.
Don't leave any stones unturned. If God has has planted a seed inside of you, it must be watered, give it sunlight, nurture it so that it can grow. And that's what I'm doing at 44. This is about, I say, at one point when I got into my clinical level of my schooling, it was exactly 9 months. And this is week 3 of my trimester. So I have roughly 12 weeks, under 12 weeks till graduation now. And I feel like this is my time where I'm about to birth this dream that God's planted in me at the age of 38 while I was rocking my now 5-year-old in a rocking chair. Still still fighting with God, like, you want me to do what? And now I am doing that.
And you're doing it. And you are doing it well. And we are so proud of you. And I thank you so much for pouring into the Pep Squad on this episode 20. It's special because you're on here with me, girl.
Always. Happy to be here.
All right, so we will be right back with our quote of the day and some final thoughts on this most excellent interview with my wife, almost Dr. LaTricia Belt. This has been episode 20 of the Pep Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Jake. We'll be right back. All right, our quote of the day is from Joyce Myers, and it simply says this: the greatest gift that you can give to the world and your family is a healthy you. Now, I want to relate that to the interview that I just had that you all just listened to with my incomparable wife. And I'm going to relate it in this fashion. I believe that by pursuing her dream, the dream that God had placed in her heart, I believe that she was able to present for herself and to our family and to those around us in our orbit a healthy her. Because I think that we are the most healthy in our lives when we are pursuing those dreams and taking those chances. And by doing that, she's also showing our children what it looks like to show up for yourself and to show up for your life and to be accountable to yourself and responsible for what you can control in your life. Because there are a lot of things that we can't control, but there are a lot of things that we can control that we often don't want to be accountable for controlling. My wife stepped up for herself in a big way, and in doing so, she is presenting a healthy her to the world and to her family, and is showing everybody in the process what it looks like to be accountable to the dream that has been placed in your heart. I think it's a beautiful thing. And if you don't take anything else away from this episode, from this conversation that we had, y'all, you have been implanted with the seed of a dream, but you've got to work it. You've got to get busy. You can't wait on inspiration and motivation to come from outside of yourself. You have to allow it to come from inside of you. And by being surrounded with the right people, being surrounded with people who are going to support you and nourish you and help you water and till and nourish that seed, you will see change and ultimately victory in your life in those very areas that you are struggling with right now. And if that dream inside of you will not leave you alone, then let me tell you that you are in a great place, because now it's time for you to choose to take that step and to pursue what's been pursuing you for your entire life. Y'all, I'm so glad that you chose to be with us for episode 20 of this podcast. Again, I said it in the beginning, but I cannot believe that we've been doing this for 20 consecutive weeks. And I'm so excited to continue on this journey with you, to include some more interviews, right? Because I want you to hear from people who have had an impact on my life. And I thought that it would be great to start with my wife, as she has had an enormous impact on my life in the 22 years we've been together and the 20 years that we've been married. So I want to know what you think about the interview. Reach out, send me an email at thepeppodcast at gmail.com. Reach out on Instagram at _JB Speaks, or on TikTok at the Pep Talk Pod. Again, we're not dancing, we're not lip syncing. We're bringing motivation, inspiration, and encouragement every day, as often as we can, because we love you and we want to see you win. We want to see you win. We want to see you win. To the mothers out there, whether you are mothering your own or other children, happy Mother's Day to you. We're celebrating you all week, right? We are celebrating you because you are worthy of honor, and we are extending that honor to you. To those of you who are having a hard time on this Mother's Day, I told you all that I lost one of my mothers this very week, so I understand. My prayers, our thoughts are with you. We love you. We are standing right here with you. Please reach out if we can help you in any way. But as we close this episode, y'all, this has just been great. And thank you for coming along with me for 20 episodes. Here's to 20 more, at least, right? So share this episode, share this interview with somebody who needs it, because I know y'all know somebody who needs it. And as I always say when we close out an episode, I love you. Keep it love, keep it light, and keep it peppy. We'll see you next week on episode 21 of the Pep Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Jay, life coach, your life coach. Holler at me in DFW. I love you guys. Y'all be blessed. We'll see you next week. Peace.